New Super Mario Bros. U is too easy of a game, so today I'm gonna make it harder. Here are the rules for this challenge. No running, no damaging enemies, no power-ups. And because there's no power-ups, there can't be any checkpoints. No using any of the Yoshis as well, and this is separate from the power-up rule because Yoshi ain't no power-up. No mid-air spins either, you know, that slight air boost you can do in this game. No using the boost platforms with the touchpad, and no co-op mode. Yes, welcome to the hardest Mario challenge, number 3. Now, even if you've seen my last 3D challenge videos, this one is gonna play out a lot different because it's a 2D game this time. This means there's gonna be a lot less space to maneuver around enemies and less room to get over large gaps. It's mainly due to one of my main hindrances in the run being my movement. Obviously, I can't run, so not only does this slow me down on the ground, but it also slows my airspeed and limits the type of jumps I can do since I have to be running to do a double or triple jump. And I've literally banned every other way to get any sort of height apart from this simple regular jump. So this jump arc right here is what I'm left with. And with this puny arc, I have to cross every pit in the game, jump over every enemy because remember, I can't damage a single one. And of course, avoid every other normal obstacle in the game as well. So with all this laid out, you may have a few questions about the run, such as how am I supposed to get past the level with all the penguins in it? Or what about the level with all the fuzzies and small platforms? And most importantly, how am I gonna get by the lava boat level that stops when enemies get on it? Well, all these questions will be answered in today's video, so let's get going. Also, I'm not really one to bring this kind of stuff up in a video, but some of you guys have actually told me that these videos aren't appearing in your subscription box. Like, what? I thought that was the whole point of subscribing, but I guess times have changed or something. So I've heard if you hit the bell, you'll see these videos guaranteed, so I suggest doing that. And if you haven't subscribed already, I suggest doing that as well because I have many more of these difficult challenges planned for the future. And with that all being said, let's start this one off. And the run begins in World 1. Well, okay, I guess this playthrough isn't really a run now, is it? It's more of a walkthrough. Yeah, that sounds better. But everything is fine and dandy in these first few levels. Then I was able to reach the secret exit in the second level, which skipped me all the way to World 5 already. But first, I did need to complete this level on the path. It's a swimming level with a bunch of bloopers, and without being able to use the run button here, I literally moved as slow as anything while these squids everywhere are whipping around at 4 times my speed. But then with some close calls, I completed the level. Then we get to the forest world, and the very first level presents us with some difficult jumps. Because just look how big everything is here. What's the deal with that? And since I have like barely any airspeed, I have to jump literally at the last minute to get over these things, which only barely clears them. Any slight imprecision caused me to either die or accidentally jump on them. And then sometimes they bunch up in weird ways, which just makes it seem totally impossible to pass them. Later in the level though, when you're done with the easy part of the stage, they start removing the floor, so now on top of these precise jumps, there's no floor to land on either. But I continued to platform on until I reached this red-shelled turtle hogging all this space on this green pipe. And yup, there's no way around this time. I can't even come close to jumping over him, even from this block way up here. And while I can stand on the pipe he's on, by the time I jump, he already turns around and kills me. And even if I could get past this guy, which I can't, there's even more enemies placed like this right after. So the first level in the forest world is unbeatable. And this world is on a required path to beat the game. It's not on a split like some of the other levels. We have to get through here. Alright, yeah, this is gonna be a fun challenge this time. I already know. Because we have to find some workarounds now. Okay, so we gotta look for some way to skip this level. Luckily for us, there is actually a secret exit in the Sparkling Waters world that leads directly to Rock Candy Mines. And this mine level is the world right after Soda Jungle, so this entire world here would be skipped. So yup, that sounds like the new route. There are no secret exits that lead to Sparkling Waters, so we now need to go through the first 2 worlds normally. So let's get going. Back to World 1, we continue on until I got to the first castle. And alright, the one exception to this no damage rule is going to be the bosses. Just because there is literally no way around them, so I'll have to damage the bosses. But every other enemy, I still won't. Plus, look at all the bosses at the end of the game. They're fine. I barely even damaged them. He's just acting like a soccer player, that's all. So we move on. The level right after the castle just has a bunch of moles running around. And the thing with these guys are that they're so fast and literally sprint right after me, when I can only walk. And then I found their army over here that I obviously couldn't outwalk, and they they always ran right under me, forcing me to hit them. So I couldn't jump over them either. Luckily though, in one of my attempts, one of the moles must have known I was doing this challenge because the brave soldier in the front turned around to block the rest of the army, allowing for me to escape. Then I found these 3 meatheads just ramming their heads at me, and honestly, this did look harder than it actually was, but the end did consist of a bunch of moles running at me, which I snuck by as well. Then back on the overworld, I saw this baby Yoshi here, and he just kept following me. I explained the rules of my challenge to him, that I couldn't use him in this run, but he wouldn't listen. I was trying to shake him off and lose him in the map somehow, but nothing seemed to work. So there was only one option left. Hey pal, I tried to warn you, but you left me no choice. Ha! And the rest of the world was not too bad. So then we get to Sandland here, and the first roadblock comes in this underground place. There's all these sand snowman guys just shimmying around here, and as you can see, they are simply too tall for us to jump over. I had to use these sand chutes, whatever they're supposed to be, to launch myself over them, and even then, they could come up the chutes too, and really fast as well. And later, they even go up on the ceiling, making for some very close calls in many points of the level. But still, this level is totally doable. The following stages in the sand world aren't too bad, but then we get to the final one before the last castle. In this one, we have Lakitu's brother or whatever, Lakitus over here, and he drops piranha plants on the ground, which I can't move once placed since I can't kill them. And then it gets really dicey by the end of the level with these like spinning platforms that slowed me down even more, plus big and little piranha plants, Lakitus at the top of the screen, and even more piranha plants being thrown down at me. Let's just say I had very little space to even move around in this last part, but after many tries, it was possible. Nothing overly noteworthy then happened at this castle here, other than I had to cheese out the hammer guy. See, I would literally always get hit by his very last attack just cause how slow I was. So I stuck real close to him for the entire battle so that he couldn't even get the chance to attack me. Then we're at the water world, and honestly, pretty simple here, especially after that initial secret water blooper level. These fish are easy to dodge, even with your slow movement. And then I got to the ghost ship where the secret exit lies. Yeah! Now the only thing left to do in this level is to get that secret exit, which is all the way up on this ledge. Oh. See, normally you would have to get a running start at it so you can reach all the way up there. And you have to be Big Mario as well to cling onto the wall up there in order to initiate a wall jump that will then make it up on the ledge. But without either of those two things, I can't reach the secret exit, meaning that I can't get around Soda Jungle this way either. Oh, did I really waste all this time just to get stuck in another level? Well, there is still one option left, actually. There's another secret exit in another ghost house in the Snow World Frosted Glacier that also takes me right past Soda Jungle to Rock Candy Mines. And we can get to this world by using the split paths from before. But this is literally the last secret exit that will take us there, so I'm counting on this to work. It's the last option that we have to save this challenge. On top of that, the snow levels are a lot harder than the water world because there's a bunch of ice physics in the majority of the levels here. Combine that with only being able to walk and you literally just slip all over the place. Then the second level in the world literally just decides to throw penguins at you all the time, constantly. This makes it really hard to avoid killing them and avoid, well, them killing you. Look at this part here. I can't even stand on the ground. There's so many of them to avoid. Jeez. And then there's this part where I'm literally minding my own business when boom, suddenly penguins. Let's just say there was a lot of stuff to avoid here, but after a lot of trial and error, I was able to clear this place. I found a lot of the times I had to find a safe place to wait for these penguins to then form a gap in their placement. And then even at the ending, the whole penguin regime just came at me, so I had to quickly jump up on this ledge here and wait out this madness. Then there was the castle, and the only real tricky part here was this lift, because sometimes these dry bones would literally just be in the worst spot and blocked me. But all in all, I snuck by and beat the castle. And then the next few levels in this world were pretty well just as annoying as the previous ice ones, especially this rolly ice one where not only was I dealing with ice physics and walking, but now the ground would just roll in the wrong direction. But then after all that, we finally get to the ghost house with the secret exit to skip the jungle level. It all comes down to this. And the secret exit this time was actually possible. A lot of jumping was required to get there, but I just had to dodge some ghosts and boom, here's the path. To use the secret path, I did have to beat this walrus level, which was just as precise as the other levels here. But after that, I then rode the skeleton roller coaster all the way to finally World 6, Rock Candy Mines. But it is definitely not over yet. This place is no cakewalk. Just look at all these levels. There's a lot of precise platforming with these very small platforms. And these fuzzies are everywhere, just jumping all around and having a grand old time while I'm just trying to walk by. While the first level was possible, it showed how the difficulty would be picked up from here on out in the game. Literally, look, where'd all the ground go? I can barely even make these jumps here. And the increased difficulty in the world just keeps continuing on and ramping up, which brings me to Rock Candy Mines -5. And this level, oh my geez, this level, oh. Okay, you know what? I don't want to talk about this level just yet, but I will get back to it in just a bit, don't worry. So let's continue on for now. The rest of the world did have some tricky underground levels with these moving pillars or whatever, so it was kind of hard to maneuver around these things. But then I finally got to the castle level here, in which I got to this point which seemed impossible to me based on the placement of these skeletons. So after failing to get by once, I tried again, but this time a skeleton chose just to die, so I can continue on and beat the world. Then we get to Sky World, and the levels were pretty challenging here as well, but luckily there was a big secret exit skip here, making it so I really only had to play up to the first castle. Still though, the levels I had to do had a ton of enemies in them and not a lot of platforms to move around in. The first level's an auto-scroller, so you're stuck on this little cloud here with a bunch of plants and squirrels flying at you, which is already kinda hard. But then the next level just randomly has bullets and random other enemies everywhere. Look at this army of Koopas I came across. I literally just had to tiptoe and weave my way through this crowd. Jeez, there's like no room here. Then I had to wall jump in this hole to give me just enough space to jump by. Whew. But then we get to the castle where the space was also very tight in many instances, especially when enemies were present, but this place is totally doable as well. Then we get to the ghost house secret, which was no problem, and same goes with the last castle level too. Well, a bit of difficulties on that last one, but still. After all that though, then comes the airship level, which is the final obstacle before the last world. And yeah, it was a pain because the entire level is again an auto-scroller. Plus you got Bowser's hand just following you around for half the time. It then gets worse when he starts breaking the ground because, you see, sometimes he'll break so much of it that you can't even make the jump now. Great. So literally I always had to stay at the very right of the screen to avoid this, but even then I can't see what's coming up and I barely have enough room on the screen to make some of these jumps. So this level was another tough one, but totally possible. So now we come to the final world in this run, Peach's Castle. And with these challenges, usually the last world is by far the hardest area, and yeah, same with this game too. Ah, jeez. The first stage here is definitely a step up from what we're used to so far. Throughout the entire level, there's fireballs raining down on you. Combine that with all the enemies in the level, it made for some situations where it felt like I was cornered with very little room to escape. Then at the end of this level, the ground started moving in random directions, which made it even harder to control while walking. And this thing really messed up my momentum movement. This was the hardest part in this particular level, but I got through it. And then things got interesting. Okay, because the next level here is this magma river cruise where you ride on this boat as deadly smoke chases you. Enemies are constantly trying to catch a free ride on your ship, and when 5 or more of them are on the boat, it stops, causing the smoke to kill ya. And this counter here basically counts the amount of enemies because when it hits 0, the boat stops. This, as you can see, can get very problematic when I can't kill any of these enemies. Because normally when you kill them, the counter then moves back up, allowing the boat to start moving again. The moles though are one enemy that can be removed though, just by baiting them pretty easily. The rest of the enemies, however, are a pain to get rid of. Especially these little Goomba guys. They're literally the worst. Look how many of them fall down here, which immediately stops the boat. Now this is the first big hurdle of this boat ride because there are so many of them. And even if I get near them, they will attach onto me and eventually die, which for the sake of this run, I'm counting that as me killing them. So I literally can't even go near these things for the entire boat ride. But I found if I stand close to this very edge, I could get most of them to kill themselves. However, usually 5 of them still made it on. Occasionally though, I would only get 4 of them to land, allowing the boat to continue on. This was a bit random, and I'm still not really sure what causes the amount, but I needed to be lucky in this part. Then in this literal perfect attempt here, I got only 3 of them on the boat, so I used this to run to the end of the ship to spawn all these Goombas in early so they would walk off as well. And then I timed all of this in such a way that I would sneak right under this mole, which put him and all the other Goombas in the perfect position to all walk off on their own. I was good. The yacht was all mine again. So I continued to trek on this lava yacht journey until a bunch of new Goombas fell on my ship, even while I was standing at the very front of it. They still all made it aboard. While I tried to lure them off, there was way too many of them, so I accidentally killed one. Eventually, after trying this part a few times, I thought of what to do. I had to go to the back of the boat this time and delay the spawn of Goombas. By doing this, I could have the front of the boat reach to a point where this blue shell would land on it. So I then move forward to trigger that shell drop, which kills all of these Goombas. Then the boat would move forward far enough to reach the second blue shell, at which point more Goombas had already filled up the boat, so then I triggered the next shell again, which once again got rid of the Goombas. And after that, the boat would move forward for a third time, and I would find a third blue shell. More Goombas would then once again come on, I would trigger the last blue shell and get the boat back to myself. And doing all of that, I could finally progress from this section. And yes, okay, I am definitely not hitting that P switch. Then the final part of this level shot a bunch of moles at me, which obviously weren't annoying as these mini Goombas, but there were still some close calls. Like, geez, I don't even know how I made it out of this corner, but hey, that was the level, so let's finally move on. Next is an underground lava level, which ain't so bad, but then we get to the final stage before the final boss fight. And it's another platform level that stops when enemies land on it like before. Really? Again? 2 in the same world? Come on. But unlike the previous one, it stops after only 1 enemy. So my progress in the level was quickly stopped when only 1 Goomba ran on the platform. And what's even better is now that they come from infinitely spawning pipes, meaning there's nothing I can do in this situation here. I'm stuck and I have to die. No! Is this really how it ends? At the very last stage? We've come so far, overcame so many challenges. The previous boat stage was already the hardest level in the run so far, and now we have a stage that looks to be even harder than that one. I didn't even think this final stage would be possible in the challenge. No, this is the last level left to complete, and completing it is what I'm gonna be doing. I got on the platform and then constantly had to weave left and right, which gave me enough room for the platform to dodge all infinitely spawning Goombas, with very little wiggle room. This part was very much trial and error just to memorize where they all spawned from. And then came the bombs. These guys would usually appear in groups of 3, and in this first bunch I could actually barely avoid 2 of them, but 1 would always make it on. Luckily though, these guys do just walk off, but they definitely cause the lava to be a lot closer from the time wasted. The next group of them, however, had even less space to move around, so I always had at least 2 of them fall on the platform. That really slowed me down, but they literally still got off at the very last second, allowing the lava to almost reach me. And then came the very last section in the level. Electric fences combined with bombs falling down. I always had to keep track of where my platform was, where I was on the platform, the electric current, and where the bombs were falling from. This part was pretty tricky with all the different elements to consider. But with enough attempts on this last section, I had successfully weaved past all the obstacles, allowing me to make the final jump to victory in the last door. So now I completed the level and made it to the final boss. Let's go, buddy. Just me and you here, pal. I immediately took down the clown car pretty easily and already got one hidden. Then he just goes to a shell form and immediately catches me because he is just way too fast. But no matter, that was a fluke. I'll just try again. So I got the car again, hit him once, and then he went into a shell and caught up to me again. Okay, maybe I'm just messing up. I tried again, got in the car, hit him once, and then he went into his shell and hit me because he's faster. Alright, new game plan time here. I will be defeating this final boss battle. I first do what I always do by initially grabbing the clown car, but this time fly to the far end of Bowser, which will hit him on the right side. By doing this, it will cause Bowser Jr. to chase me all the way to the right so I can sabotage him and get the clown car before he does. Then I got into it again and stay where I was because at this exact point, Bowser will jump, and if you hit him, he'll actually knock you out of the car. Then, since I lured him to the left, I can immediately fly to the top right of the screen to get far enough away from him in which he'll stop spinning so I can hit him for a second time. However, I can't get the clown car after this second hit, so I'll just have to predict every time Bowser will jump. I did this by memorizing the exact timing in which he will jump so I can get a head start in moving in the other direction while he's still coming at me. I juked him out a few more times and Bowser Jr. came back in the clown cart. This allows me to take it one more time and finally defeat the final battle. That is what I call a challenge? Okay, who am I kidding? See, remember that level I skipped that I said I'd come back to in Rock Candy Mines? Well, I think it's time to go back to it. It actually starts off fine. There are some precise jumps needed to get over all these piranha plants and all the gaps, but it was still all possible. Until we get to the end part here with this jump. This one incredibly, astonishingly, exceedingly stupid jump. And with this exact rule set that I have in this challenge, it's impossible to make it. I seriously tried this jump, I'd say close to 100 times, and look how close I am to reaching it. The real kicker here is that this is the very last jump needed in the level. Every jump before is possible, and every jump in the entire run for that matter can all be completed except for this one. And the real kicker to that kicker over here is that there are actually 3 secret exits that can all go around this level, but none of them we can actually get to. There's one in the jungle world that takes you right to the cloud level, but I can't reach this one because of the giant Koopa blocking the first stage. Then there's another one in the previous castle level which perfectly avoids this stage, but it does require a mini mushroom power up to get it, since you have to go in this pipe here. And there's a secret in this very level that takes us on this path, but it's literally right after the impossible jump. I can actually see it from here. The pipe is right in this wall. So close. And what's even more of a kicker to those 2 kickers is that I can pretty well take away one rule of mine and this level would totally be fine. No running? Well then I can easily make the gap. No damaging enemies? Well then I can use this Koopa. No power-ups? Well then I can use the mini mushroom to get to the secret exit in the castle. Or even if I add mid-air spins I can make it. That's how close I actually was to completing this challenge. But with these very specific set of rules all combined together, this is the one jump in the entire game that I can't make. I literally paced in circles and pondered for hours of any different solutions, but there was simply nothing I could come up with. I was literally this close to completing the run. So overall, that is what I call challenge, like almost complete, but I was literally just a smidge short of one jump, so give me some slack here, guys. Come on, I was so close to having this completed. And that was the Mario U challenge for you, and what a challenge that it was. So if you want to see me do more difficult challenges like this one, then let me know in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video.